This was only a few months ago, but I still can't believe it actually happened. I was home alone that night for the first time in a long time, and I remember thinking how quiet the house felt without anyone else around. It wasn't supposed to be a big deal, just one night while my parents were visiting family out of town, but the silence was different. It didn't feel empty, it felt aware, like the walls themselves were listening. I'd finished cleaning up after dinner, grabbed a soda, and went upstairs to my room to scroll on my phone. It was a little past midnight when I noticed the sound, the soft creak of something shifting downstairs. Houses make noises, sure, but this one felt deliberate, almost like someone testing their weight on the floorboards. I paused my video and waited, staring toward my door, my ears straining. Nothing. Just the hum of the fridge downstairs and the faint tick of the hallway clock. I laughed under my breath, trying to shake it off, but something in my stomach told me to listen again. A few minutes later, there it was. Another creak, closer this time, near the bottom of the stairs. I muted my phone and held my breath. My parents' house wasn't big, but the sound carried just enough that you could always tell where it came from if you listened closely. This was right by the front door. I slowly got up and walked to the top of the stairs, leaning just enough to see down. Everything looked normal. The dark outline of the living room, the faint glow from the street light leaking through the curtains, but something was off. The door chain was swinging slightly. It was locked, but it was moving, tapping lightly against the wood like someone had just let it go. My mouth went dry. I tried to tell myself I probably didn't latch it right earlier. Maybe the wind rattled it. But it was still, completely still. I decided to check the cameras. My dad had installed a couple of cheap security ones by the front and back doors after a break-in down the street. I opened the app and stared at the live feed from the front porch. Nothing. Just the edge of our doormat and the shadow of the mailbox swing. I switched to the back camera and froze. There was a shape standing just outside the frame. Not clear, not detailed, but you could see the curve of a shoulder and part of an arm, like someone was just barely staying out of sight. I blinked, leaned closer. The figure didn't move. It was like they were waiting. My first thought was maybe a neighbor, maybe someone lost, but the way they stood there, it wasn't hesitant. It was intentional. I turned off my phone screen and listened again. The air felt thick now, like the whole house was holding its breath with me. Then came a new sound. Slow, scraping footsteps on the back patio. The kind shoes make on concrete when someone's trying not to be heard. I backed away from the window, pulse hammering. My brain was already running through what to do, call someone, hide, maybe turn off the lights. But then my phone buzzed. A text from my mom. "Everything okay?" Just reading it made me feel less alone, but before I could type back, a soft knock echoed from the kitchen door downstairs. It wasn't loud, just 3 gentle taps, almost polite. I froze in place, my thumbs hovering over the screen. Then another knock, slightly harder, followed by a slow, dragging sound, like someone running their hand across the glass. My heart was thudding so fast I could barely hear myself think. I backed into my room and locked the door quietly. The knock stopped. A few seconds of silence. Then my phone vibrated again. But this time it wasn't my mom. It was an unknown number. No name, no photo, just the digits. I didn't want to answer, but the message preview popped up anyway. "I can see you upstairs." My stomach dropped. I turned off the screen and threw the phone onto my bed like it was burning me. I didn't dare move for a few seconds, just stood there in the dark, staring at my window. The curtains were drawn, but a faint shadow moved behind them. I backed into the corner of my room, barely breathing. The next thing I heard was the back door handle twisting. Once, twice. The metal clicked softly like someone testing it. I grabbed the small lamp from my desk, the only thing even remotely heavy nearby, and stood by the door. Then came a slow, scraping sound from the hallway, like something being dragged across the floor. I hadn't even heard the door open, but the noise was unmistakable. Someone was inside. I crouched low and peeked under the door gap. At first, I saw nothing. Then a shadow moved past, slow and uneven, like someone limping. My whole body went cold. Whoever it was stopped right outside my door. The floorboards creaked as they shifted their weight. I bit the inside of my cheek so hard I tasted blood, trying not to make a sound. Then, 3 light knocks on my door. "You awake?" The voice was low, calm, almost friendly. A man's voice. "It's okay," he said after a pause. "I just need to ask you something." I didn't answer. My hand was shaking so badly I nearly dropped the lamp. "You shouldn't leave your back gate open," he added, his tone changing slightly, softer but more sinister. "Anyone could walk in." I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs wouldn't move. He was right outside, maybe inches away, and I could hear the faint sound of him breathing through the door. He said, "I won't hurt you. Just open up. I just want to talk." My phone buzzed again, this time vibrating on the wooden desk. The sound made him stop. I heard him turn his head toward it, then silence. Then the doorknob started to rattle slowly. I backed away, ready to swing if it turned, but it didn't. After a few seconds, the rattling stopped. Then, nothing. Total silence. I stood there for what felt like minutes, but the only sound was the faint hum of the streetlight outside. I finally worked up the courage to move, tiptoeing to the window. I peeled the curtain back just enough to look out. The backyard was empty. No one there. No movement. I turned back toward the door and froze. The door was open an inch. I know I locked it. I swear I did. The air coming through the crack felt cold, like someone had just moved past. I lifted the lamp, heart pounding, and pushed the door open fast. The hallway light flickered once, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed everything. I backed up, whispering, "Please, please, please." The floorboards creaked again, right behind me this time. I spun around and saw nothing, just the faint red glow of my alarm clock reflecting on the window glass. That's when I noticed something. There were fingerprints smeared across the inside of the glass. I bolted for the bathroom, slammed the door, and locked it. My phone was still on the bed, but I remembered my smartwatch had call access. I pressed the emergency option, my hands slick with sweat. It rang once, twice, then a calm voice answered. "Emergency services? What's your location?" I whispered the address, shaking so hard I could barely get the words out. The operator's voice stayed level. "Stay quiet and stay where you are. Officers are being dispatched right now. Is anyone else in the house?" "No," I whispered. "Someone broke in." The operator asked me if I could still hear the person. I listened. At first, nothing. Then, faintly, a creak from the hallway outside the bathroom. "He's still here," I breathed. "He's right outside." The operator told me to stay silent. Keep the line open. I held the watch close to my chest and waited. I could hear the man breathing through the crack under the door now, slow and steady. Then, in a voice so calm it made my skin crawl, he said, "You called them, didn't you?" The silence that followed was worse than the voice. I didn't move, didn't even blink. The sound of his breathing stopped, and for a few seconds, I thought maybe he'd gone. Then, the light under the door dimmed, like someone was standing right against it. He whispered something, but it was too quiet to make out. I pressed my hand over my mouth, tears stinging my eyes. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the house, glass breaking again, maybe the front window this time. The operator's voice came through faintly. "The officers are 1 minute away. Stay inside that bathroom." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. The footsteps retreated down the hall fast, then another slam. Silence again. I don't remember moving, but somehow I ended up on the floor shaking uncontrollably, until I heard it. Sirens. The faint blue and red glow flashed through the frosted bathroom window. Someone shouted from outside, "Police! Anyone inside?" I managed to unlock the door and step out, my knees barely holding me. 2 officers swept through the hallway, flashlights cutting through the dark. They found the back door open, the lock forced, and muddy footprints leading from the kitchen to the stairs. But here's the part that still keeps me up at night. The footprints didn't lead out. They stopped halfway up the staircase, then vanished completely, as if whoever it was had just disappeared. They searched the entire house, attic to basement, but found no one. The officers stayed